Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Anton Enus from SBS Television. Very pleased to be with you, always pleased to be back in Melbourne. So welcome to this Wheeler Centre event. We have a very, very special guest for you today. If you could just imagine for one moment what it might be like to be 17 years old, barely out of your childhood, to have a 6-month-old baby, and to step outside your house and to find that the world that you know has completely exploded. It's exploded into a scene of chaos, of nightmarish proportions, where people are just killing each other in the most brutal way. What happens next? How do you survive? How can you even think of surviving? That's the situation that our guest found herself in not a very long time ago. She's a relatively young woman, but she has squeezed in a lifetime of nightmarish experiences, and she's here to share them with us today. Will you please welcome Leah Chishugi? Well, Leah, welcome to the Wheeler Centre, welcome to Melbourne. It's lovely to have you here, and it's lovely to see you alive and well, I have to say.
Thank you, Melbourne. You all look beautiful tonight. And it's a treasure for me and a privilege to be here tonight. So thank you for having me. Thank you.
Could I ask you, first of all, Leah, do you sometimes feel like it's a bit surreal that you are actually here? After what you've been through, do you sometimes feel like, is this really happening?
I mean, my experience have changed me a lot. I treasure actually each day that I wake up, because it's very challenging. I mean, if you read my book is very confusing. I was forced to be an adult. I was forced to grow up. Sometimes I feel I'm 16, and somehow I feel I'm 90 because I've done it all. But yeah, I am still normal.
So we met for the first time earlier this week when we did the television version of this interview. And I asked you a question then that I'll ask you again now. How do you think you survived? What was the thing that allowed you to survive when hundreds of thousands of other Rwandese failed to survive?
Actually, I'm going to answer that very different today. It's called faith. It's called meant to be. Because if you ask me this question about 6 years ago, I would just say, can you just take a gun and kill me? Because I didn't like to be alive. But I understand it now. It was meant to be. I was meant to be here today and see some beautiful faces, be in Australia, and I was just one of the lucky person to be alive, and it gave me, I supposed to understand, because I'm sure I am. If I didn't pass through what I didn't pass through, I could be some of Australian people, Londoner, who just don't understand. There are a lot of people who are going to die without the mission. I feel sorry for those ones. Maybe I was just meant to understand mine. I was one of the chosen to create value.
How would you describe what your mission is?
My mission is actually looking back. It started when I was young. In my book I described. My mom always tell me I'm different compared to the 10 children she had. And my brother would say, oh, it's not true, because beautiful girls don't do anything. They only think about their hair, their nails and stuff. But really, I was a toy boy. I used to like playing and do rough stuff. But in the meantime, I had a kind heart. My friends in my book, they were always old. I think, I'm sorry, old people look cute. And I always like to help. I always, actually in my book, I describe hiding my mom's car so I can go to the hospital when she visits early in the morning. I always want to help others.
So all of this happened when you were 17, 1994. If we take a step backwards from then, your childhood, the way you describe it in the book, sounded really, really happy and very well-adjusted. So there was no way of predicting in any way that there was trouble coming or that things could change so dramatically?
No, I just have found out a few minutes ago you were my neighbor in 1993. So obviously you have an image of what I describe a long way from paradise, because you just were in Gisenyi, you slept just a few blocks away from my house. And all the houses down there, you have a picture, and I'm so shocked that you have that. So you are part of my journey now. But
just to explain to you that we've discovered that in 1993, I was actually in Leah's hometown in Goma, in what was then called Zaire, and crossed over into Rwanda. And I just showed Leah a photograph of me from 1993 before my hair went grey. And she recognized the location as being almost right next to where she was living at the time. So
which is beautiful. It's really a paradise. And to be there at that time, seriously, nobody would like to be in Sydney today. No offense, you have a beautiful country. Australia is gorgeous. I mean, I feel sorry for Laura, who's been spending almost a week with me, because I cry all the time I see your nature. You're beautiful. When I have time to visit, I was in Sydney. I cry all the time. You should really treasure your country. You have an incredible country. But if mine had peace then I won't give anything to be here. I would like to stay there. It was such a beautiful place to live in at the time.
So give us an idea of what kind of family life you had, what kind of lifestyle it was in Goma in those early 90s.
I was privileged to grow up in a family. My father and my mother, they were very wealthy. I said they were working so hard that my great-grandchildren will never suffer. That's how hard they did. And I grew up with... I always take a break talking about my mom, because she was incredible. She was so humble compared to what she have. Usually, I think rich people, they arrogant, they have their own way, they are wrapped up in their world. My mom wasn't. She had a chance to teach us everything, but in the meantime, I have everything I could wish for. And for me, somebody asked me this question in Frontline Club in London, saying, how do you feel now? I said nothing, because I had a chance to have both life. I've been poor, now I am, but I was rich when I was growing up. And I feel like Gandhi, a Buddha, because he was a prince and he didn't know what was going on outside the world. I was exactly like that. I could hardly walk going to school because my parents would pick me up, or they have a different driver to take me to school and to take me to church. And just imagine, at 16, everything is taken away from you. I found myself with a 6-month-old baby sleeping and begging for food in the street. It was too shocking. Maybe Gandhi himself, he'd take that step. I want to do this. I didn't want. But that was not a problem. The problem is, where is my mom to answer these questions? Where is my dad to tell me, why do they hide this side of the world from me? And I was just forced to be strong and accept it.
So how would you describe yourself? When you were living this life of luxury and privilege, how would you describe the kind of person that you were at that time?
Spoiled.
So it would have been a major, major adjustment for you, not just, all the terrible things that happened, but when you became pregnant at 17 and then moved to Kigali, essentially to have a life separate from your family.
Still spoiled, because my mom promised, You have it because you're a Roman Catholic. You go back to school, I'll take care of your child. So spoiled again. And because she promised me that every now and then when my son will become difficult, I say, Marie, where are you? You need to come and take your grandchild because that's what you promised. But I think it was just meant to be because my son became then my hero. Because if I look back, there is no way I would just think being naughty, have a child at 17. But it was just planned. It was called faith. Because when everything happened in 1994, all I wanted is to save my son. And he think I'm his hero. I keep on saying, you are my hero, because there were a lot of suffering then, that a lot of mothers were taking their life. People didn't want to run anymore because if my son he can walk for himself and run, I just as well give up. I don't want to run, I don't want to do anything. The killing was not just the machete, it was also a lot of people take their life. They didn't bear to see the suffering. They just jump in a big hill and stuff like that. So yeah, I think me being a mother at the time saved my life.
My experience, of course, from just a few months before that, I traveled to Zaire, as it was then called, and Rwanda on assignment. And in fact, I didn't tell you this earlier, but I actually interviewed President Juvenal Habyarimana.
Good man.
And I don't know if it might have been the last, or one of the last interviews he ever did, because as you know, the history of Rwanda, the genocide was triggered by the assassination of President Juvenal Habyarimana in April of 1994, when his plane was brought down as it came in to land in Kigali airport. Of course, you were right on the spot, Leah. Just tell us what you recall of that day. What were you doing there? How did you come to be so close to the action?
When I was young, I did a lot of things. And one of them, I was a model. Believe me, I was cute. And so that day we had a photo shoot. The 6th of April 1994, it was quiet, beautiful. Compared to if you were there, means you also crossed the border. But if you want to go to Kigali, there is a lot of border from Gisenyi. There is a roadblock, not a border.
There were roadblocks everywhere. That was my recollection.
Everywhere, yeah. Everywhere. They were everywhere. And in town, in Kigali, there were, but not so much as if when you're coming from Gisenyi going to Kigali. But at the end of 94, there were plenty of them in Kigali, and which my mom didn't allow me to take his grandchild all the time. And again, I had to look normal, a young kid, a Catholic, so not seeing too much with the child. And it was a beautiful day, like today in Melbourne, nice, quiet. And I was like, I want to take my child with me. Mama, I'm going to the market in Nyabugogo. I'm going to buy food because today I feel like to be a wife. My husband, Christian, was coming from Changugu. He's supposed to be at the airport at 6 o'clock, the last plane, actually. And I was supposed to finish work, the photo shoot at 6:45. So I decided to hang around the area across the airport. There was what we call in Rwanda a cabaret, which is just a coffee shop. They sell all sorts of stuff in there. And I was sitting there with my son when Habyarimana was, the President Juvenal Habyarimana was coming from Burundi with the Burundian president in it. And the plane was shut down. In my big surprise, if I look back, it seems to be it was planned because everything happened so fast. Nobody cared to, well, I'm sure the UN will rush over there, but the civilian, it was like, that's what we were waiting for, to start and killing each other. Nobody went to the airport, but instead, they were spread everywhere in that area. To those who know, Rwanda is the airport area, Kanombe, is where there is a military camp. military base. They're there. That area is very dangerous for a Tutsi to be around there. And that's where I was. Horrible. That day, my life changed. I look back and I said, I wish I was not born. I wish. Actually, I'll go back to the question you asked me. That day, make me feel like you're all fake, you don't exist, I made you guys up. You are not here. You are part of my nightmare, even if I'm laughing with you now. My paradise finished then, because I stopped being this spoiled child, playing with all the languages that I know. 1 minute I'm Zairian, the next minute I'm Rwandese. I stopped being this person who I go and sit on my daddy's lap at 16, 17 and ask him, how was your day? I stopped seeing my colleague, my friends, my neighbors. My beautiful Rwanda went then. But I'm not saying Rwanda is not beautiful now, it's even more beautiful. It's just that everything was taken away from me then, that nothing tells me anything anymore.
So at that moment, on that fateful day, the 6th of April, within minutes, everything started happening. The brutality started. Within hours, it was very clear that this was not an isolated incident. This was full-on brutality. Cool. People were being slashed to death in the streets. There were militias running around, searching, rushing into people's homes. You were at that point hiding in the restaurant where you had been with your friends. Josephine was the woman who essentially saved your life on that day, I would suggest. Did you think at that moment that there was any way out for you?
No. I don't think any Rwandese way, because, as I said, Rwandese people, we are so naive in a good way, and we are so forgiving. We forgive easily and quickly. So even before, the signs were there, but we're hoping that things will be better. And that day, yes, my instinct said, run, save your child, because my son was just 6 months old. And with every parent, every mother, when you give birth to the child, then in my head, and I'm sure it's with every mother here, it's like, I want the world to be a better place. So for me, I was again shocked to see that mine is ending. And I'm like, it's not fair. Where is God? He's supposed to make this place safe for my son, beautiful. Rwanda must be having peace. I was praying seriously every single day. I was pregnant that I want peace in Rwanda because my son needs to grow up and see how beautiful my country, my Africa is, the world is. And it was going away. Again, that was actually what triggered me. Maybe if I take him anywhere out of Rwanda, it will work. But I didn't think there was any hope. I was taking it step by step. Yeah.
And then a friend that you knew, Luc, from the UN peacekeeping force, came back and helped you and some others to escape from that immediate situation. Where did you go then?
Luc is one of the good UN peacekeeping, actually. One of them. They need to create more of Luc, of peacekeeping. We need to have more of those people really who want to help, because the UN have failed. But actually he knew where I was because, again, of my friend Josephine, who said, you know what, Leah, she's somewhere stuck up there. And he came to pick me up for a start. He took me to the Hotel Shelando, which he could just drop me there first and see which step he's going to take next, because it was so dangerous. And the Interham, we were searching, they were starting that day actually to search the UN cars and see if they have any cockroaches in them, which is me. At the time, I was looking like cockroach. But what happened is he took me there with my nan, Donata, and my son, and other Tutsis also were with me, boys from San Fidel, because we were working together at the time. It was that modeling we were doing. It was just usually students trying to earn money. A lot of us, we were just students. And so they help all of us, actually, because they say, look, you can't leave some of these. All of us, we're in danger here. Some of them did not make it out of Shelando because they were killed, and the UN will look back, even if we were already in the hands of the UN. And then it happened that they take me there, and they took us to Milcolin, Hotel Milcolin. That's where really I start running proper.
Okay. So once again, I know the hotel. That's the hotel I stayed at, Milcolin.
You were following me.
So it's a luxury hotel. So you were within the grounds. The Interamwe militia, the Hutu militia, were at the gates, right? So you couldn't go outside the gates. You couldn't go out the perimeter of the hotel. And then Luke, your friend, comes back to you to say he has some bad news.
Yeah.
Which to me at the time I just felt like, I could feel on the back of my neck, the tension rising, because what was the bad news that he had to tell you?
I just want to take you back, first of all, before I answer that question. For me it takes nothing, not much minutes from the airport to Milcolin. If you're in a taxi that is working, it's about 15 minutes, half an hour, 20. But it took me ages to get there. I was happy to see the UN. I'm in the hands of the UN and at the Milcolin. Yes, I'm definitely out of Kigali the next day, because there was a flight going to Kenya, Nairobi, and so many of actually Rwandese people, before the UN decision, they were taken to Kenya, and I knew some of them, they're already in there. So I had hope that day, the next flight, the next cargo packing Nyenzi, I will be on it. And then that day, Luke was not looking too happy. Well, nobody looks happy, the whole event anyway, but he really have this face that he's avoiding to see me. And because he was a French Belgian soldier, and we fight, and I know him from Belgium before he decided to become a soldier. So for me, it was like, what's wrong with you? I said, quoi, tu as quoi aujourd'hui? What's wrong with you? He said, Leah, I'll talk to you later, okay? But actually, I had the CEO of, the director of PDG of Milcolin with the UN General and the General of Rwandese Army, who were talking, saying that, look, we want the Tutsi out. You all need to go, but the Tutsi have to stay in the hotel, because that's where we have to finish them. And he said, I will give you the result after I called, Kofi Annan, or whatever the guy who was up there. I suspect that was the case. And I was like, then what is going to happen? No Rwandese is going to Kenya. No Rwandese staying. We are all staying in Rwanda. I freeze. I thought, this is not fair. I thought, I was already rested. I was so exhausted already. I don't know what I feel in my stomach. It's difficult to describe. Then I rush into the room, because there were a room that they were putting a lot of people in. There are some of them that you have to really stay if you're lucky with the Western. Then I was a bit lucky, because I thought, because I'm a light and I can speak French and I can speak German, maybe I could cover myself there. It didn't work, because apparently I look different. But also because I was on almost all the calendar that was coming around the panel in the streets, I thought maybe it's better if I run. So you just say you're in Milcolin. So where the pool is very dangerous for a woman, a young woman like me, to think you're going to jump the gate because I couldn't use the front door, I couldn't use the back door. There is nowhere else than just jump. So my baby, I wrap it somewhere and put it around me. And I said, those who want to follow me, they can come, because in the meantime, there will be blood in no second in Milcolin. So that's how I escaped Milcolin, by jumping where the pool is, actually.
And what was your plan?
I don't know. My plan was just, actually, I thought at the time, maybe if I go to the church, it will work. So I was looking, I thought maybe the mosque didn't work, because my parents never prepared me with Muslim at all. But I thought the church, I'll go there and I'll contact God.
Well, we know what happened there. You and I know what happened there. I'm not going to go into that too much, because I think people need to discover things for themselves when they read the book. So I don't want to give too much away. It is a very, very dramatic and very tense story. But let's kick forward a little bit. So you manage somehow, against the odds, and I'm just skipping over this section, but against incredible odds, to survive during that period. Terrible, terrible things happen during the next few days as you try to, A, stay alive and get away from the militia. Where were you going? Was there a particular place you were trying to reach? Were you trying to get back home? What was going on in your mind then?
I couldn't get back home because the last person I spoke to was my mother, who said, stay where you are and trying to be safe, because there is nothing for you here. Kigali, at the time, there is no way you wanted really either to stay there. I'm surprised my mom stayed in Kigali the whole event. But all I wanted to do is to go where my brain maybe knows better, which was the East Congo. It was Goma. It was dangerous, in fact, to take the bus, because there were no, again, I'm a cockroach, it means I could not go in any bus. Even if those were not cockroach, it was difficult to use the bus than walk, really. So I planned to go to Goma by foot.
So just to explain to you that cockroach is the term of humiliation and insult that the militia use, the Hutu militia were using against the Tutsis. What did you find then when you eventually got to Goma?
Oh, I found out that almost the whole Rwanda was in Goma. And Rwanda is very, very small. And Goma is not a big city either. So everybody, Hutu, Tutsi, old, young, babies, they were in Goma. So for me, again, I was like, I'm still in Rwanda. So I found out that the refugee camps, they're everywhere, where me, I used to play football with my brothers and sisters just behind in every place. It was just sad. I found out that actually people from Goma, they were kind. Maybe that's we explain why they're upset now, because they were kind enough to accommodate and to welcome the refugee and giving them clothes and food, and it was just maybe nice to see that, but for me it didn't work, because Goma was my paradise and I saw it destroyed. So I decided I'm not going to stay here another 2 days, and I was scared that whatever is happening in Rwanda is going to follow me in Goma. So
was there, we don't really understand fully the politics of that situation, but was being on the sort of Zairean side of the border, that didn't make you safe? Or was no. Zaire intricately involved in the political situation across the border? Not
really, because I think my troubleness could put myself into big trouble, because my years in Kigali already, I was already here a lot, the things that I was not supposed to hear in the political side, and which I knew I have a big mouth. And I knew that if I stay there, I could just whisper it to somebody and I won't make it in Goma. Again, I knew that the Congolese were involved Zairean government. President Mobutu was almost his his big brother of Habyarimana, as far as they were calling each other. It's not that I think Habyarimana was a bad president. I think he was killed because he didn't want the killing himself. That I suspect, and I'm very much aware he wanted peace. But also there were French soldiers everywhere in Goma. The whole situation just made me bitter and anger, and I just didn't want to stay because of that.
So, once again, I'll ask you, what was the plan? Where were you going to go? Was there anywhere that you could go?
No, really. My plan was to go in my family house in Goma, and which I did. And I went in my mom's bedroom, and I took almost all her jewelry. I didn't want anything else, but just usually when you're running, you don't want anything with you. I didn't make any suitcase or anything. But I took almost all my mom's jewelry and ran away with them. And I arrived actually in Goma in town, where in front of my daddy's office, I saw a big truck. Because he had a big field, big land, and a lot of drivers who sell petrol, the tank of petrol, I don't know how they call them. They were parking there, and I saw one guy who was sitting there. That's the first person I told that I am a refugee from Rwanda. And he said, actually, I just escaped myself, because the way he looked, he's from Tanzania. So he had the face of a Tutsi, and I knew he was not a Tutsi, but I felt very comfortable talking to him because he gave me this vibe. And I sit down, and he said, actually, because I also suffer, I have really to take out my TZ passport and to show them that I'm a truck driver. I'm not a Tutsi to get here. So I only get here 3 days ago, and I can't wait to get out. I said, when are you getting out? He says, I'm driving to Tanzania in 2 days. And that's made it. So I said, 2 days. I'm going to so watch you because you are taking me with you. So, yeah, Mustafa saved me.
So it sounds to me that this is a huge risk you're taking, because you don't know this man, you're going into his truck, you're going off to somewhere where maybe you don't have any friends close by, there's no one you can call for help if something goes wrong. What was going through your head when you think about all these things?
This described my journey, because then is the first time I came across contact with a Muslim. So it just described this world, really. This is a time that a Muslim saved a Christian's life. He would take his mat and he put down and praise God, or pray, which I believe is the same God. And I would take my Bible and I'll read it. And the next day he said, I'm going to buy you lunch. I'll buy you dinner. You're going to sleep in that room with your baby and Donata, and I'll sleep under my truck. And I was like, a Muslim is helping me? That's cool. So again, it was meant to be. And why did I trust him? Mustafa had a spirit of a normal human being, because we were meant to do good, not bad. And the energy tracked me to him. Obviously, maybe he saw my naivety, because he kept on saying, are you sure this is your baby? And I say, yeah. In fact, you need to help me to take this one, because I have other babies too that I was not sure where to leave them. And I said, we're going to leave your truck here. I know where there is a safe camp in office. And if we leave them there, even if anything happen, I'm sure the people from that land, they will take the babies. They won't let the baby die, because I know it better, because again, I was playing around that area. I didn't want to leave them in Katindo, in what they call Mugunga this time. I really wanted to leave the babies where there is people with heart, and I knew the area very well. And I said, these one are not mine, but the light-skinned one is mine. So we will take that with us, but this one, I'm tired. I'm going to leave them in Goma. So I took them, and Mustafa helped me actually to take them there.
So just to fill you in there, when Leah refers to the babies, She had the one baby, Jean-Luc,
Yeah.
Who's her child. But in the escape on foot from Kigali in the countryside, going through all these incredible traumatic experiences, including seeing people being slashed to death in front of her, she came across these little children who, some of them were with their dead mothers on the side of the road, some of them suckling, the dead mother's body. And Leah, in a sense, you put yourself in danger by taking on other children as well, including a set of twins, carrying them with you out of this hellhole.
Hey, I was 17. I had a lot of energy compared to those cops. But actually, it's not what went into my head. What went into my head was, this baby is not realizing the mother is dead. They don't see the blood. All they know is the breast. And they were sucking it. And I say, I'm already halfway. I don't know when I'm going to make it. But if it is me lying down and the baby usually smells the mom's body, you come and crawl and find my breast and suck, I would love somebody to take my son and save it. Because the whole purpose really I was running is to help Jean-Luc. It was not for me. And I said, these mothers, they wish the same thing that I wish. I don't care if they're Hutus, I don't care if they're Tutsi, I'll just take the babies and I'll help. If I'm tired, I'm killed, I'll find somebody else who will take over the babies. So that's the reason I took the babies with me. And actually then and then I didn't see why, but now I understand. It's because I was meant to sit here and tell you why. One of the babies that was with me in there, it happened to be one of the local guy from Ruhengeri called Habimana. We used to cut it in short, called Habi. He would take the vegetable. Ruhengeri grow nice vegetable, nice potatoes, cabbage, carrots, very nice one. So he used to be a vegetable seller, and you bring vegetable around. So he knew me because he was selling us vegetable. My parents would buy vegetable in Gisenyi. So he knew my face, again, because I was everywhere. Then he happened to see me, I think a week after, and I have his baby, but I left the baby somewhere, and I went to see how the road, I risked my life again to go in the street and see how it's happening in the road, because we were riding in a bush. And I see this guy who called me Bebe Leah, and I said, oh, I didn't tell Donata what is going to happen if I'm dead, but definitely this guy is going to kill me. And he didn't. He sounded friendly. He said, are you stupid? What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. And I realized the voice is a kind voice. It's not using what the Interam voice are using, being happy to see a cockroach. But he was furious. You're not supposed to be here, damn it. He said, come, I'll hide you. And I said, I'm not alone. I have some babies with me, my son, and my nanny. And he said, come on, quickly. Go and show me. But in a way, he was telling me how his wife, because she was a Tutsi, she was killed. And the children, and said, I know how you feel losing your family, Leah. I also lost my beautiful wife and my child. And I said, well, let's forget about that and try to get out. And then he came, he found his son. He sees one of the children, and I pick up. It was his son. Isn't that beautiful? I look back. People ask me, why are you here? You tell me if that experience will make you stay in this world. I look in all those experiences. Believe me, in my book, a lot of Hutus help. But that is a sign of showing me that, Leah, there was no Hutu, there was no Tutsi. We were just human beings with a horrible spirit at the time. I'm sure where Habi is grateful. I never met him again. There are a few people I've met, but actually one of them is in London. Today he said to me, wake me up 4 o'clock, and he said, Leah, come back to London. London misses you. Mm-hmm. But he's a Hutu. And he was my friend in Saint Fidel. I can't tell the name, but it's just so nice to see that. I will use that to say, Rwanda, we were meant to be just one nation. We don't know these differences that people put it in our head. We didn't have it then. And I'm sorry that maybe Rwandese people upset people at that time in 1994. And I'm a victim of it because I hated Rwandese people for what we put the world through. We kind of supporting animality in us. We are not like that. And an action like that can happen even here in Australia. So please don't do that.
So, as you said earlier, you came from a very big family, 10 of you all together: Brigitte, Micheline, Christine, mm-hmm. Pauline, Timothée.
You remember them better than me.
Jean-Claude, Henri, Sanssouci, and Alice, and yourself, of course.
Yeah.
10 brothers and sisters. So at this point, when you were fleeing, you were out of the country, you were with Mustafa on his truck. Did you have any idea what was happening to your brothers and sisters and your parents?
I knew they were dead. Because again, my mom told me, do not go into the house. Our house was on fire. My dad was killed in front of the gate because it was electrical gate. It means to enter, you have to press, and somehow that happened before. And when the gate opened, so they're all in and they kill almost everyone. In my head, I knew they were nothing. So I try not to remember them. And my brain actually did not think about them much. If I look back, sometimes I do try to remember how they look like. My brain haven't allowed me so at all. I wish I can remember. I think sometimes I have an image of my dad, and it sounds a bit stupid because I was 16, 17, I should. But I can hardly think about them because they do upset me a lot. Yeah.
I can imagine. Obviously, it's very upsetting for you to revisit these memories, and I certainly saw that when we...
Everything is a benefit.
Yeah, that's the name of Leah's charity. Why did you choose to write about these things? If they are so painful every time you go back to them, why revisit those memories?
I just give one of the answer already. It's because I want you people to treasure each other and to treasure your country. Because you don't know what you have until you lost it. Second, I know it's a bit impossible, but it's to try to stop the history repeat itself. Because these things happen already, seriously. I look back and I forgive Rwandese people because this happened in Germany. The Jewish were killed. That was the most horrifying genocide I ever read. Horrible history. If I look at the movie, the way just one person decided to finish another nation, humiliating them. It's not just Rwanda. I wrote it, actually, because I was watching on YouTube the way President Kagame was treated in Paris by so-called combatants from Congo. Those combatants, they did not think that they are in Paris. They did not think that, yeah, we are in a different country. They stopped the motorway, about the biggest one in Paris, and they put cars on fire just to show the world how angry and upset and bitter they are. I could do that easily. If I think that it's the Western that put us in the situation that I did, I'm a rebel. I'm not saying I am not, because I get upset so many times. But the only way I could do it is by writing this. I'm doing the opposite of what those people are doing. I'm not saying that I am proud of Kagame or Kabila or any politician. I am not. The only way I could fight for human rights is by putting that book down. I don't think that anger is good to have it if you are going to use it in a positive way. I don't think if I don't sit here and beg you to go home and check and be with your family and love them and treasure them, that's my only way of doing the opposite of what these people trying to do in Paris. Not even a month ago. I watched it last night, and it was horrible. I don't blame those young combatants, they call themselves, from Zaire, Congo. They're using their anger. In London, we see it a lot. They ban their embassy all the time. I could do that. In East Congo, in 1994, a lot of Interahamwe finally fled into Zaire. They fled into, most of them, they're in Ruchuru. They went into the camp. They're in the forest somewhere in Bukavu now area. That's where they're hiding, in Walungu. But look at it this way. Somebody outside in Western, they are sending them guns, bombs, all sorts of technique. I'm telling you, if you want an AK-47, is that how they call it, 45, 46? You go to Goma, you're going to find some. Very cheap. But they are in a forest. Why are you attacking them? They are integrating themselves. They have been there more than 18 years. Somebody's encouraged them to remain there. All the things they want, they know, because somebody's telling them you can't go back in the city, you can't go back to Kigali, you can't go back to Rwanda because they're going to kill you. Therefore, that's all they know. I would do the same if somebody feed me. They have all the latest mobile phone. I've been there, just come back from Walikale. They have iPhone, there is internet in that area. Believe me. Somebody out there is giving them. I'm sure if they teach them that there is dialogue is a solution, talk about your problem, understanding, justice, they will just as well go back. Most of them, they were also young. They are almost my son's age. My age. They are bitter. They want to go back. If the whole international community doesn't teach the two countries, means Rwanda and Congo, to come back together, first of all, because that is going to be very big. Congolese people, I'm afraid, if people don't watch, they are the people who are going to go to Rwanda and make a terrible genocide. You think 94 was bad? This will be bad. And it's not going to be Interahamwe. This is going to be Zairian, because they are so angry. And they were very Zairian, if I can describe them, very nice people. They love music, dancing, and looking good. That's all they know. That's the reason they haven't attacked yet. But see, because they have hope. These people, before they attack in Paris, they start to pray. And they plan everything and put the street on fire. The traffic, the most I mean, the traffic was everywhere, and they stopped the cars, the people going to work and everything, and they say, we hate Kagame, is a killer. I don't think that is true. Probably. They could be angry because Rwanda is doing so well. Kagame is a very intelligent man who loves his country. And seriously, I have people who are writing horrible things about me.
I've seen that.
I am working for Kagame. I don't work for anybody. I'm sure Kagame hates me. So please stop it. All I'm saying is, there is a way to do this. It's by talking. People in Paris could have died. I saw old people crawling off their car in a motorway without knowing what is happening. If Congo failed, it's because Congo was not prepared. It's a big country for somebody like Kabila to run. Kabila himself is a rebel. He's not intelligent than Kagame. He doesn't have a heart to protect his country. He only knows, he's greedy. Kagame loves his country in his own way. He's suffered already from I don't know how many years. All he wants is to put that together. I'm sure he has his dark side, which I'm not going to say it now because that is between him and his conscience. But the Congolese are feeling bad about all this because they believe if they didn't help the Hutus, which I'm sorry, they already done a good job by saving and welcome the Rwandese into their country. It's just a confusion from politics again. They think if they didn't do that in 1994, their country would be nice. They think it is the Hutu, the Interahamwe in the forest who are doing the raping, which is not true. I'm sure there is some Interahamwe who's still doing this, still, because they all look Bantu, they look the same. A lot of soldiers, Congolese army soldiers are doing the same. Then they're blaming into the Hutus. Then therefore it becomes Rwanda's problem. The international community are doing the same by allowed some of the missionary to form the rebel group, which some of them were arrested. The Oslo, the New Vision soldiers, they are arrested in Kisangani. I was asked to go to Oslo and talk about that. I am a humanitarian work, I'm nothing into the politics. They know why they formed these rebel groups. Just because Congo is so wealthy, is so rich, everybody wants their hands, and they forget that they are human beings in there. I got nothing to lose when I say the UN, they are the biggest support of rebel militia. And I don't care if I don't make it out today and go back to London, because I'll die saying the truth. The UN is not doing any good in Congo. I have a privilege to say that I witnessed that. I filmed it. The UN are raping themselves. They are raping women and children in East Congo. So you see, if I don't write this book, if I don't sit here and talk, we all don't need all that. We need... Without Congo, we won't be able to communicate today anywhere in the world. They have a mineral called coltan. And I'm guilty of it because I have a BlackBerry somewhere in my bag full of these women's blood. The only way I can do and feel a bit better is to go back and help these women. A lot of people say, you are Rwandese, why not Rwanda? Rwanda is doing good by its own way. The reason I'm doing it is when I'm in Congo, when I'm in Goma or Bukavu, which people from Goma, they're still easy to, because they still believe that without Gisenyi, without Rwanda, they can't communicate, they enjoy each other so much. But in Bukavu, people are bitter. You pass around, they call you name, Rwandese. You know, you feel like to be a Rwandese is bad. Excuse me, which when I was growing up, it wasn't all like that. We have to live with each other. We were happy to go to Zaire and dance and go across the border the next day and go home. I wrote the book to see if we can all live together again.
Leah, we have to take some questions from the floor, just to be fair. So if you have any questions, just indicate to our two roving microphones over there. I said at the beginning that I'd gone to your hometown in 1993. As you fled Rwanda, you made your way down Africa, and you ended up in my hometown, which is Durban in South Africa. And in fact, we probably might have been there at the same time. Yeah. And then eventually you ended up in Cape Town.
We have to find after this who was following him.
Cape Town, where I did my high school and teenage years. So we have a sort of, in a sense, a sort of parallel journey in a very different way, of course. Let's take a question from the gentleman over there.
Hi, Leah. I heard you mention that when you were with Mustafa, he prayed and.
What is your name?
Edgar.
Edgar.
Yes.
Where are you from?
I am from Rwanda, but from Uganda.
Oh, mwebale sebo.
You mentioned you were reading the Bible. Do you see the gospel as having a part to play in the peace, forgiveness, and reconciliation that region badly needs?
I was hoping nobody's going to come up with that question. But very tricky. Very good question. But for me, is I read the Bible. Actually, believe me or not, there was some point. This is why people need to read my book. There's some point in Malawi, not even that. I believe in the Bible, in Christ. I believe in God. But I don't believe in religion. I think religion is is an excuse for politicians. I think the Bible, which is my favorite book, believe me or not, is, he says it all. Only Christian, we trying to understand it in a different way. He says love. The Bible teaches us love, love, love. Do we love each other? I don't think so. Lots of people go in that and go into religion and to the church, have an excuse for me to hate Muslim because I don't know what kind of God they're praying or what they're praying it, and the Muslims are doing the same. But if you read Quran, he also say the same. Actually, Quran say respect, respect, respect. It means love, 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 because if I respect you, there is no way I can kill you. If I love you, there is no way I can kill you. I realize for me is an excuse. Religion, being a Christian, being a Muslim is an excuse for not taking our own responsibility. If I'm a Christian, a Roman Catholic, I avoid to be in contact straight up with somebody I offended, but I think if I hide somewhere in a corner, I can ask for forgiveness. No, I rather avoid upsetting you, so I don't have anything to say sorry for. Do I believe in God? I won't answer that because it's between me and the big guy. I still have a problem with him, but I'm trying to be on the good side. Actually, I love Jesus. I think he was a nice man. If we can easily follow his step without putting all this religion bit, he was a great guy, and I wish in my way I could be like him. But I'm just trying in my own way to not be too much religious.
We're almost out of time, but if there are any other questions, we'll take a couple more. Right at the front.
Thank you, Leah. My name is Hannah. Actually, my parents were in camps during the war, so I know a little bit about what you're talking about. Just when you were talking about that you could choose to be a rebel and to take the anger that you might be feeling into banning cars, or what supported you to choose to go this way, to write a book and to encourage us to create value in our lives? What was it? How did you make the decision?
Because, people have been killing each other for decades. It creates somebody like you are angry. Just because somebody treated your parents so bad, they end up in a camp. You, like almost my mom's age. See how you feel now. If I use that situation, my anger, and pick a machete, do you like to see another Leah here? I don't think so. I think if I write the book and tell people how I am sad, I'm gonna die unhappy, and I transform my poison into medicine by telling people how I feel, it can correct my son's generation, I think. But if I tell my son, look, you are 19, 17 now, pick up your gun and mine, we go in the forest, we are going to finish some other tribe, or let's attack the French or let's attack America. It's not doing anything. You see Somalia and Americans all the time. Something is happening. So for that, I don't see a solution apart from dialogue. If I can manage to just make you, just this group today, feel the way I feel, your generation is going to talk like me, is going to think like me, you won't pick up the gun.
We'll take one last question.
Hi, Leah, and thank you for that. It's really quite moving. I actually teach, and I do teach the Rwandan genocide to young Australians, about 15 or 16 years of age. I can't pretend we even do the issue justice, I suppose, in that 5 or 6 weeks we spend on it. But I wondered if you had a message for young Australians about what they could do to contribute to a stable world, or particularly a stable Africa. What would it be?
Buy them books for Christmas gift. There is a lot in there. But my message, first of all, because it's a privilege, because they are young, very soon they are going to be teenagers. There is a lot to teach them. I advise actually this book to be it's everybody's book, but it's good for teenagers as well, because first of all, it teaches them not maybe to get pregnant at age that's not. And second, it teaches that God knows is not a solution. It teaches them to respect their parents and treasure them. Actually, I have beautiful emails from young children in Sydney. My favorite, I'm not going to say the name just in case she's going to feel shy. It was, "Thank you, Leah. I read your book, and I am so grateful because I was going to run away from my parents. I always feel different between my sisters and my brothers. My mom, I hated my mom. My dad, they'd never even know if I existed, so I was so running away from home. And I came at university, I read your book, and I thought the same day I went home and I said, Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry. I love you so much. I will be a good girl from now on. Forgive me for my tattoo. I'm stopped drinking and smoking." It's funny. You see, so I think my book is not all about Africa. It's changing a lot of people around the world, and that is it. So make them read the book, even pass one around. There is a lot in there.
This book, I would suggest, Leah, it contains a huge amount of brutality and barbarity and violence and terribly traumatic things. You could either see it just like that, Or I would see it in a different way as well. I think that running through this book, there's a thread of very empowering human generosity. All the way through your journey, you encountered the most unbelievable sense of people, for no reason, no gain to themselves, people setting out to help you, setting out to allow you to survive and to thrive as a human being. And I just want to add that amidst all the gloom and doom, there are 2 episodes of the most incredibly powerful, positive things that happen to you, positive surprises that happen to you along the way. One in Cape Town and one a little bit later on. I'm not going to tell you what those things are, but I would urge you to have a look at this book. It is a most remarkable read because it's a most remarkable story. Will you please thank Leah Chishugi?